Okay, zoning board, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines are opened. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt. Welcome, everybody, to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals hearings for April 29th, 2025. We have 4 scheduled. However, the first one on the agenda has been canceled due to lack of notice. So I'll just let you know who that is. That the applicant was Rolando Mendoza Rivas at 94 Cooper Lane in East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-160-3-1. That hearing has been canceled due to notice, lack thereof. So the second hearing this evening is the applicant is Ryan and Courtney Holgan at 17 South Fuller Street in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-28-8-27. The size and location is 24,792.5 square feet at 17 South Fuller Street, Lot 63, Country Club Estates, Section 2, filed August 15th, 1968, as map number 5152 in Montauk. The description is to construct a 619 square foot 2-story addition, an attached 185 square foot garage, a 70 square foot covered porch, a 46 square foot 2nd-story deck, and the installation of an upgraded IA sanitary system within minimum wetland setbacks. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the town code, and 4 variances are required for this application. Variances of 42 feet, 36.3 feet, and 48.2 feet are needed from 255-430 of the East Hampton Town Code to construct the addition and balcony 58 feet, covered porch 63.7 feet, and Bilco doors 48.2 feet from the wetland where 100 foot is the minimum required, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Who's handling this one? Okay.
Okay, made a field visit. This is the official notice. It was properly posted. Next. Now I turn to the right. This is the applicant's house is where my car is in the house, and then that's the nearest affected neighbor to the east, northeast. And this is a cul-de-sac, so let's go in a circle. Next. Now it's a shot from the driveway, from the front of the house, where some of the work is supposed to be done. The porch, the front porching, and another first floor, I guess, first, 2nd story extensions on the house. Next. And it's the area where the septic is going to be placed on the opposite, across the inside of that rail, the fence. And this is the expansion. The expansion units are planned to be in this general area. Next. So now I'm standing in the area of where the IA system will be installed, and just shooting down into the vegetation that's there. Next. This is another shot further in, and this is a shed that is noted to be removed on the survey. And next. Now I'm shooting across from the south to the north, and this is some of the other items that are going to be removed. The shower, the surfboard rack, and there's a deck that you'll have another photo of a little bit beyond those items. And then to the left out of the screen is where the wetlands are down. Next. So I turned there and I went to the fence. This is one shot of the pond. It's pretty precipitous drop from the property to the pond. Next. And it's another shot. We get a better view of the deck. That's also part of the items that will be removed. Next. And this also is the gate and the steps, the stone steps leading down to the pond that are also slated to be removed. Next. And this is on the other side. This is where the cellarway is proposed to be added in to go down to the crawl space, the new cellarway. And next. And this is another shot of the front of the house going across. That whole entranceway and porch and addition will be redone. And that's it, I believe.
Is that it?
Mhm.
Do we have the applicant or the agent? Tara, how are you?
Good evening, Tara Burke from Lighthouse Land
Hi,
Plan.
Tara, how are you? Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Planning Department, thank you for your synopsis. So as was stated, this property is entirely within wetland jurisdiction. So we really did our best to try to keep in mind the sensitivity and design the improvements, the minimum necessary as far as possible from the wetlands. The proposed first floor addition is 314 square feet, and it's on the landward side of the house. Part of that 314 square feet is the enclosure of that porch that you can see in the photo there. The second story addition is directly above that proposed first floor addition and is 305 square feet. And that is 58 feet from the wetlands at its nearest point, which is, on the second story, right? And the covered porch is proposed in the front, which is 70 square feet and 63.7 feet from the wetlands. And then the Bilco doors, which are going to the existing crawl space there to provide access, are 48.2 feet from the wetlands. In designing this, we took into consideration, as I said, the environmental sensitivity. One of the first things we looked at was the gross floor area cap of 50% that the board has the limitation of approving up to, not as of right, but the limitation of approving up to. Under this section of the code, the maximum gross floor area would be 2,323.5 square feet, which equates to an addition of 774.5 square feet. We, sat down, figured out what's the minimum that we could really do. We didn't want to go up to that max allowable. We came up with the 619 square foot addition, which would allow for 4 bedrooms. They have 3 now. They're a growing family, local Montauk family. Their kids are in the Montauk School District, and they really just want to be able to provide for the family. There we go. So those green are the proposed additions. As part of this, we are proposing to upgrade the sanitary system. If you guys could put up the survey, that would be awesome. Oh, okay. So, well, here, I'll show you. So here on the survey, the existing septic is over here, which is about 50 feet from the wetlands. So, you can see it on this one. 50 feet from the wetlands. We're proposing a new septic up by the road. It's as close as possible as we could get to the road. So it's a shallow pressurized drain field right up by South Fuller. We're right up against this drainage easement setback. And that is 119 feet from South Fuller. So that'll make the septic system 69 feet further from the wetlands than the existing. And we still wanted to do more. So, they love this property. They bought it because of the beauty of the wetland behind it. They understand the sensitivity. That rear deck is on the CO. It's a legal structure. We decided to remove it as part of the project. That would keep the structures further from the wetlands. So we'd be increasing the conformity of the property. We're removing the shed. There's some stone steps that go down to the edge of the pond. Those are being removed. And the fencing around we propose to remove. And then in the planning department's memo, they talked about a vegetative buffer. And I spoke with the homeowners about it. They have no problem doing the vegetative buffer. I submitted a letter to the file indicating as such. We did have to do a little bit of additional clearing. We're still under the allowable limits because of the sanitary system. So not only would the vegetative buffer help to mitigate any runoff into the wetland, but that would help reduce any clearing associated with the sanitary system. Unless you want me to go through it, I did submit a letter to the file talking about the variance standards and why we think we meet those variance standards. And then the only other thing I just wanted to point out, in designing this, I know that the code is in the middle of some changes, but, there we go. So there's the vegetative buffer. This portion here was converted to living space at one point in time. That's actually going back to a garage, and this will be the living space. So we're sort of swapping habitable from one spot to another. So, and that's it, unless you have any questions for me.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, we'll just confirm the survey date. I have November 1st, 2023. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then one thing that I thought maybe I wasn't clear on was the gate and the stones leading down to the pond, to the wetland. The gate is being removed also? Okay.
Yep, and it's, oh yeah, I see how.
It was a
it says-
little,
There's a note on the survey that says all existing wire fencing and gates to be removed.
yeah, I thought your narrative might have not quite said that, but okay, just confirming it.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
No, good.
So I was there and I know they have a dog and that the fence has a function for the dog. Is there another fence going to be added? You're going to move it further from the wetlands? No fence at
No
all?
fencing proposed, and if any fencing is proposed in the future, then we will certainly be back in front of you for that.
And as far as the septic, this is in the best possible location on the
It
site?
is, yep, we spent a tremendous amount of time trying to figure this out, and that is by far the best location, because it has to be a shallow pressurized drain field, and we do have separation distances. That's the only spot that would fit, other than something closer to the wetlands. But again, it's right up, we were hoping to push it even further to South Fuller, but because there's that drainage easement from the filed map, when this lot was created, we can't encroach on that easement.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'm good. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tara. Morgan?
Good evening, Board. Morgan Slater for the Planning Department.
Morgan, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So this property is within the Country Club Estates subdivision in Montauk, which predates modern wetland setbacks, resulting in a lot of properties and residences that do not conform to the minimum wetland setbacks. And that is the case for this property, which has no building envelope that conforms to all zoning regulations. The entirety of the existing residence is within 100 feet of a wetland to the west that can be described as a perched pond. The pond contains substantial standing water for most of the year, though its levels are known to fluctuate. Despite being surrounded by developed properties, this pond provides many benefits to the surrounding area, such as floodwater retention and a habitat for wetland-dependent plants and wildlife. The final gross floor area proposed is 2,146 square feet, which is 177 square feet below the maximum allowable of 2,323.5 square feet. And this is under section 255-8-60 of the town code, which limits the expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming building to 50% of the gross floor area. The proposed 619 square foot addition is on the east side of the residence and is partially within the footprint of the existing residence, and that results in a 234 square foot increase in building coverage. The total lot coverage is proposed to decrease by 216 square feet because there are numerous accessory structures proposed to be removed, which is a quantitative and qualitative improvement to the conditions of the property, since some of the structures that are to be removed are within 25 feet of the wetland. The sanitary setback is increasing from 50 feet to 119 feet, which is an improvement to the environmental conditions of the property as well. There is clearing required for the installation of the new sanitary system, and our department recommended the revegetation, as you see here on the screen, to improve the wetland buffer, since the existing edge of clearing is about 3 feet from the shore of the pond. And besides that, I can answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions for Morgan?
I have no questions. Morgan, I might have missed it, but like, what is the depth of the buffer? The width,
You know, it's not really a quantitative measurement. It was more we kind of eyeballed it just based on, you know, what would be an appropriate buffer and also still give them kind of a bit of space around the residence. So it's not technically a square footage, but I'm sure that, you know, when there's a finalized survey or finalized revegetation plan, there would be a quantitative amount.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this application? Matt, is there anybody online?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you. You have anything to add, or Tara?
No, I think Morgan summed it up. But I would just like to reiterate that we are decreasing total lot coverage, and building coverage is only going up slightly. And just to satisfy Member Mearing's concerns, hopefully, we will certainly come up with whatever, we'll take that, that straight to our landscape designer and follow those parameters, and give you the square footages and all.
Yeah, not a concern. I was just curious, like sometimes we look at buffers of different sizes.
Yeah, no, I understood, but yeah, so we'll follow whatever the planning department suggested there. So, and to give you an idea, from here to here is 20 feet.
Right.
So I would say it's about 10 to 15, maybe even 20 over here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion for 17 South Fuller Street, Ryan and Courtney Hogan, tax map, what is the tax map? 300-28-8-27. Make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. Thank you. Our next hearing, the applicant is Alicia and Guy Longobardo at 42 Hampton Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-174-7-15. The size and location is 9,795 square feet at 42 Hampton Lane, Beach Hampton, Section 1, Block 4, Lots 6 through 10, map number 1936 in Amagansett. The description is to demolish the existing 1,736 square foot addition residence, decking, shed, shower, sanitary system, and associated structures, and to construct a new 2,159 square foot two-story residence with 43 square foot covered porch, 398 square foot first floor decking, approximately 400 square foot of second story deck, 28 square feet of outdoor shower, utility platform, 1,008 square feet driveway, 67 square feet of walkways, new sanitary system, and clearing of beach vegetation on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 9 variances are required for this application. Variances of approximately 94.3 feet, 90.4 feet, 90.2 feet, 90.2 feet, and 89.3 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code in order to construct the proposed decking 5.7 feet, porch 9.6 feet, utilities 9.8 feet, outdoor shower 9.8 feet, residence 10.7 feet from freshwater wetlands, respectively, where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 50 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to clear 0 feet from a wetland where a 50-foot setback is required. One variance of 137.2 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct a sanitary system 12.8 feet from the freshwater wetlands where a 150-foot setback is required. 2 variances of 6 feet and 3 feet 9 inches are required from 255-1172D of the Town Code to construct a residence 6 feet and 3.9 feet outside the town's pyramid regulations along the western and northern property lines, respectively, and any other relief necessary. Zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and secret class is type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting? Thank you. Member Mearing?
Yes, thank you. I visited the property in Beach Hampton on a sparkling day. Actually, last week at a different public hearing, we were right next door. This is 42, and as you remember, we were having a discussion about 46 and 50. This is contiguous to that. This property has 2 front yards. It's on the corner of Hampton Lane and Central Avenue. Both part of the dirt roads, part of Beach Hampton. This is one of the 2 postings that was properly placed. I think this is the Hampton Lane side, sorry, the Central Avenue side. Next slide. And this would be the Hampton Lane side of the property with the other posting. You can see there's a driveway that runs into the property. I could have taken 20 photos of all the wetlands on the property, and I do I mean, I don't know if they really show up well in the photos, but I do want to remark that these wetlands, relative to what's going on in the neighborhood, appear to be very well stewarded and are, I think, for Beach Hampton, pretty important and kind of spectacular in their own way. So I just wanted to note that. Next slide, please. Oops. Oh, so I took road shots, so I'm having a hard time seeing from my seat here, but I think this is the view down Central Avenue. Next slide. This is going down Hampton Lane, I believe. Next slide, just some neighborhood shots here. And then my back, I'm standing on Central, my back is to the property that we're talking about tonight. This is the property on the north side of Central Ave. I think this is a part of a parcel that has some kind of easement over it. It's in a pretty undisturbed state. Next slide. Oh, sorry, one more shot looking at. Okay, so now I'm entering I'm on the Central Avenue side of the property. I'm looking towards what I believe is the front door of the house. There are wetlands on either side. They're expansive. I only caught a portion of them. There's a driveway, and my fellow board members have all probably visited. This is sort of like a three structure house. Sort of like three pagodas that are tied together that sit, pretty far back from both roads. So I'm about to walk on to that driveway. The one thing about the wetlands, as pristine as they are all kind of marked off with like a bit of a railroad tie border, but just wanted to note that. Okay, next slide. So now I've walked up to what I believe is the front door porch, and I'm going to start going around the west side of the house as I progress. And you'll see that the house itself is very tight. The existing house is very tight into a lot of the wetlands. Next slide. Right, so now I'm looking I'm looking towards the west. This is the space between part of that front facade of the house and wetlands. Next slide. Now I've gone around, now I'm kind of walking on the west side of the house. There's some steps up to what I think is probably a utility shed. You can see the wetlands right close to the house on the left side of the photo. Next slide. Walking further now towards the neighboring property on Hampton. There's an outdoor shower and I think a little structure there, which I think will be removed. Next slide. Now I'm about to wrap around the west side of the house to the southern side of the existing structure. Again, you can see the wetlands and a shed. I believe that shed is going to be removed. The house is being demolished, needless to say. Next slide. That's the shed that exists. Go away. What's interesting about this property is it's wetland, but it's also sandy and has a duneland characteristic as well. You sort of see the sandy nature all around, undisturbed. Next slide. Okay, so this is the fence that separates this property from 46 Central Avenue, which we were on last week in the public hearing. I think this area here, I believe, will be impacted somewhat by the pyramid variance request. We'll get into the details of the plans. Next slide. Now I've gone, there's another part of the structure also on the south side of the house. Keep going. Now my back right now is to Hampton Lane. I'm kind of coming around. This would be the east sort of facade of the house. There's a deck there. There's a path. There's wetlands you can see to the right. Also, pretty much undisturbed or, kind of natural conditions. There are a lot of very mature trees on the property as well. Next slide. Now I have my back to that part of the house, and I'm looking down this little path in this sandy area towards Hampton Lane. That might be it. Next slide. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can somebody go in the foyer and let Mr. Tertranian know that he's up? He's not on deck anymore. He's up.
Batter up.
You're not on deck anymore. You're up, Aram. All right, we just had the presentation and the photos. So
I apologize. I was just conferring with my colleague. For the record, Aaron Tertunian, First Coastal West Hampton Beach, on behalf of the applicant.
do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be heard tonight. I'm here with Mr. Thomas Hine, who's the architect on the project. And we think that we have developed a good, solid project for how confined this site is. If you've reviewed the TAM that was provided by staff, I think that they make a pretty good observation of our arguments. I'd like to point out that one of the most significant things that we're changing is the sanitary system, which right now sits basically in the wetland, both vertically and horizontally. That's going to be relocated as far away as possible, and with a drainage field that will be at least 2 feet above highest expected groundwater elevation. That's a pretty significant improvement from what we have right now. The other thing is that we've reduced the clearing on the site by about 100 square feet. And we have condensed the footprint a little bit, even though we have more gross floor area in the house. It's a 2-story house. The footprint itself has been shrunk. And although we do need variances for the pyramid, it's actually less than what currently exists. And we are going to be able to meet FEMA and the height requirements at the same time. The one issue that staff did point out had to do with the location of the outdoor shower. That's located in the lower left corner. I'll just point to it. We looked, after staff's report, we looked at a couple of different potential locations, and we came back to this being the best. First of all, this is a corner lot, so we would want to keep it away from the street as much as we can. So that really only leaves the western side of the house as a potential location. The existing shower, as you can see, is more or less centered on the building, but of course there's no equipment over there now, and that's going to be a location for generator and the AC condensers. Therefore, we didn't think it was practical to put it back where it is currently located. And on the corner, what we've done is that all leads into a dry well, which is then connected to the overall drainage system for the site. So we think on balance, that's a pretty good location. We also have some revegetation that's being proposed, and of course, a pervious driveway. So on balance, we think that we've met the variance criteria identified in the code, and happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions?
I'd like to just ask a little bit about, in more depth, about the pyramid variance. I know the TAM, I think, name indicates the amount of cubic feet of pyramid piercing, for lack of a better word, that's in there. And I just, if you could comment, there's one of the variance standards is, were there alternative designs that, if that could have eliminated that variance, could have reduced it? Could you talk a bit, and maybe this is the question more for the architect, sort of how you are looking at the design relative to, I know you have to raise the house, so,
Sure.
but it just says we had a I think we had a application before us not that long ago in this neighborhood. Originally, there was a large pyramid variance. The architect redesigned and managed to, keep the house the same size, but eliminate. So because it is an important standard, if you could just address that. In a little
Yeah,
more.
I'd be happy to let my colleague, Thomas Hine, the architect, address that since it falls outside my normal area.
Thank you.
How are you, Thomas?
Hi, I'm Thomas Hine.
Do you swear firm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So addressing the pyramid issue, the site is in a FEMA elevation 10.
Mhm.
The existing grade elevation 5 approximately. So the plus the 10 plus the freeboard puts us at elevation 12.
Right.
So really going from existing grade, we're already 7 feet out of the ground. We intentionally minimized the ceiling height on the second floor, actually made it less than 8 feet at the perimeter, and kept the roof slopes lower than we may normally do at elevation at a 6-on-12 slope. And we could easily shift this building one way or the other and avoid those pyramid variances, but
Right, the
we're
wetlands.
being restricted by the
Right.
wetlands and trying to maximize the distance to the wetlands on all sides of the house.
Okay.
While you're here,
Yes.
are you done?
No, go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
Relative to the pyramid variance you're going to need to the north is to Central Avenue, right?
Is what I'm sorry?
It's to Central Avenue. The one on the north is facing Central Avenue.
Correct.
The one on the west, how far from your property line to the next nearest neighbor the structure is? Do you know that? How far away do we from
Right,
your
site
property
plan.
line to the next nearest neighbor? I mean, we see how far you are from the property line, but I'm wondering, when we're looking for the next nearest neighbor,
No, but I would say it's a similar distance to what we are.
because that's the larger of the two pyramid variances we're being asked to.
It is. The one on the north side is the smaller one. That's facing the road. And this one is there is quite a bit of vegetation between the properties as it's wetlands, so there are trees in there.
Yeah.
As far if you're concerned about privacy between the two, but you can see, so we're 19, not much different than this. We're about here. They're probably twice that.
What I'm concerned here is what's happening to the grading on this. As you know, this area is defined by the duneland characteristic. That's really what defines this entire neighborhood, and these houses are planted within these meandering dunes. So,
Right, so
you're raising grades quite substantially around the house. I'm looking at maybe possibly 3+ feet, and I'm concerned about losing that characteristic.
Well, I would argue that enhances the characteristic because it looks as if the house is part of a dune. The existing house footprint is much larger than what's already there, so we're reducing that and then all the areas within the wetlands and even where the septic system is going to appear quite natural, and then the house is just going to be mounded up a little bit as it has to be for FEMA.
Okay. And of course, there'll be all natural plantings, revegetation.
Right.
Do you think you'll be able to maintain a lot of the, no, they're not in the wetlands, but some of those, mature pines that are very characteristic to the neighborhood, oaks, things like that?
It is.
I mean, they're around the perimeter mostly,
And
right?
to maintain as much as that. I mean,
Okay.
they've owned this, their family has owned this property since,
Right, yeah,
the 60s.
yeah.
And they have, unlike a lot of their neighbors, they have maintained the wetlands, left it there. I mean, they could have gotten rid of it all a long time ago and made it lawn.
I mean, they're,
They love the beauty of the property.
yeah, it shows in the, your coverages are reducing, by an important amount, so don't want to pick too much, but, there's still, like, when you look at the property, you have a driveway that cuts on, both roads. It does go right up to the wetlands. There's no buffer between. Is there any opportunity to reduce at all that, that gravelly driveway, parking areas, and just get a little more space, any more space to the wetlands? And also, how are you going to deal, and we'll talk to Tyler about it too, these sort of railroad ties or wooden borders around the wetlands? Sorry, two separate questions, but.
Right. Well, I'd say we're flexible on the water, the wood railroad ties around the border. But as far as minimize, I don't know if you've been to the property, but
definitely,
right. But it's a pretty tight turning radius already in the driveway. And if we made it any narrower, you wouldn't be able to really go in. And then we did choose to put additional parking down off the street, which a lot of the neighboring houses have, and because it was further away from the wetlands.
Right.
Yeah, the building protocol points out that you're going to protect a lot of the existing vegetation. That's written right in there.
Yeah, we had
read
TF
through that.
Engineering do a very detailed.
Yeah, and on the Hampton Road side, there's a lot of very mature high-bush blueberry and things like that we want to encourage. I'm going to go back to the chair's point, and that is if you're coming up 7 feet, if you're going to mound it up, as you just said, close to the house, we want to see that we don't see this lot get mounded out to the maximum.
We aren't mounding it up to the floor of the house. I mean, you can see.
No, he's meant, they're coming up maybe around 3 feet.
I'm saying, but nonetheless, you're still going to be bringing it up enough, because if you're going to come up that 3 foot has to make its way back down before we get into any of these more sensitive areas.
Correct,
So it's
and
going
we
to be
would try
something
to
of a
create
mound.
swales and things so that it wasn't draining back
Yeah,
into the.
I think I'm not criticizing the planning. I'm saying this is the critical part of it. That when we're done, the building protocol has to be maintained here, because these sensitive areas could be encroached upon by this kind of construction. It's tight, as you say. I was there, very tight envelope, very
Right.
tight place to try to place this structure.
That
So,
was one of the reasons we chose to bring in TF Engineering and to do a very elaborate analysis and construction activity instruction, so that
right.
it would be very clear to the contractor what he needed to do ahead of time, and we would have that inspected,
Yeah.
and then we would do the work.
Yeah.
Right. And we tried to, the reason we didn't bound all the way up to the house was, or keep it low around the house, let's say, was because we tried to balance the amount of coverage with stairs. Every foot down, I need to add more stairs, more stairs, more stairs. We've already got, quite a few steps going up to the house. We tried to create a balance between what we could raise and having the house out of the ground.
I appreciate that.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Thomas.
Thank you.
Do we have Tyler, please?
Good evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department.
Tyler, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So the subject property is situated on the southwest corner of Hampton Lane and Central Avenue in the Beach Hampton area of Amagansett. The project before the ZBA is a complete redevelopment of a very constrained parcel, which reduced coverages and increase in the gross floor area of the residents and increased setbacks. The parcel is fragmented with several high-quality wetlands that contain a high level of diversity of native vegetation and contain standing water at times throughout the year. The wetlands result in the very constrained property, which requires careful review of any changes proposed on the sensitive lot. The proposed project represents a reasonable redevelopment of an extremely constrained parcel that increases gross floor area slightly while improving the existing setbacks and decreases lot coverage and total lot coverage. The applicants are proposing to demolish the existing 1,736 square foot one-story residence with decking, shed, and associated structures, and to construct a more consolidated footprint 2,159 square foot two-story residence in a slightly more centralized location between the wetlands on the property, and along with limited decking, associated structures, and an upgraded sanitary system in a more conforming location. With those improvements, the project still requires several significant variances from the 100-foot minimum wetland setback. Excuse me. Those are enumerated in the notice, as was already read out, but it's worth noting that the proposed sanitary system will be relocated from a 0-foot setback to maintain a 12.8-foot setback to the expansion drain field and 18 feet to the main shallow drain field. Clearing on the parcel is also proposed to extend up to 0 feet from the edge of wetlands, removing some of the vegetation to the east of the existing decking in order to remove that residence and construct the new residence. While the proposed structures require several significant variances, the existing conditions on the parcel do appear to be improving with the proposed construction. The proposed residence, decking, and sanitary system are all being proposed in locations that would provide increased setbacks to the surrounding wetlands. The coverages and clearing would be reduced once construction is completed, with lot coverage proposed to be reduced by 502 square feet, total lot coverage reduced by 1,445 square feet, and clearing reduced slightly after a small revegetation along the western edge of wetlands. The reduction in lot coverage and total lot coverage will both eliminate nonconformities on the property and bring the improvements back into compliance with the town code with those maximums. The condensed footprint, larger gross floor area, constraints of the parcel, and inclusion of a second story do result in the applicants requesting 2 pyramid variances from the western and northern property lines that result in 983 cubic feet of pyramid noncompliance. The largest of the pyramid variance request is along the western property line, which extends 6 feet beyond the pyramid line at the northern end of the residence. This is partially because of the drop in elevation from the residence down to the property line, which is encumbered by wetlands. Elevations along the western property line range from about elevation 5 to 5.3. And with the FEMA first floor requirement elevation of 12 feet, the property is further constrained. The northern pyramid variance requests a smaller proposed nonconformity at 3 feet 9 inches. Even with FEMA first floor requirements, the proposed residence does comply with the 30-foot maximum height requirement above natural grade. The outdoor shower proposed to be located only 9.8 feet from wetlands on the west side of the parcel is a variance request that requires close attention and discussion. There are certainly other areas of the parcel where a shower could be located that would meet a better setback and provide slightly more protection to the wetlands from possible runoff being generated. Certainly, any outdoor shower should include drainage that leads to a dry well to help limit impacts of that use. But the question for the outdoor shower is the proposed location the minimum variance necessary, or are there alternative locations which would provide the same benefit to the applicant while also reducing the potential impacts it might have on the surrounding wetlands? Relocating the shower to the south side of the residence or onto the proposed decking could help to increase the setbacks, and the applicant should speak to how the outdoor shower meets the variance standards, which they did discuss. For mitigation, the small size of the parcel and confined space around the wetlands greatly limits the available mitigation measures that are even at the board's disposal. Additional revegetation or scenic easements over the wetlands are certainly possible. However, with how limited space there is surrounding the residence, no real buffer would be able to be included in an easement, limiting its value. The applicants are removing some of the limited vegetation buffer that does exist along the edge of the eastern wetland in order to demolish the existing residence. And construct the new residence. Establishing that vegetation between the proposed decking and the wetlands would be in keeping with the existing conditions on the property and provide additional mitigating runoff control to buffer the improvements on the parcel and the sensitive wetland habitat. Providing as much buffer as practical to the surrounding wetlands would be one of the best options available to the applicant and the board in order to help reduce impacts from the proposed improvements. This buffer should include limited vegetation over the proposed sanitary system to provide some level of runoff mitigation. I know they can't do significant vegetation, woody vegetation there because it's a shallow drain field, but something there would be better than just sand, obviously. The applicants have included a well-detailed construction protocol by TF Engineering that the board should include in the determination to ensure that the project limiting fencing and sediment control are strictly maintained throughout the demolition and construction process, as the close proximity to and quality of the surrounding wetlands makes the fencing that much more vital to preventing unnecessary sedimentation of wetlands. Other than that, I can make myself available for any questions you might have.
Any questions for Tyler?
Would you be able to show us some alternate locations for the shower? I mean, you said potentially on the deck, but.
Yeah, I mean, the deck on the east side of the residence or anywhere along the south side of the residence, those would obviously be slightly further. You're not going to get incredibly increased setbacks on the property just because of how constrained it is everywhere.
Right.
But those are the only really other alternative locations that could possibly be utilized would be the south side of that house or the east side on that deck.
Right.
Other than that, there's really not many better options.
And then just to I want to just confirm that I understand what you're saying. Even without the opportunity for a buffer around the wetlands, I think you're saying that it would still be valuable to have easements over the wetlands themselves?
I think they have limited value. I think including a buffer, a vegetated buffer as much as we can around it would be a much better alternative to get something to help with runoff. And there's not much space. Obviously, everything's 10 feet or less than
Right.
away from wetlands, so there's only so much, so much of a buffer that you can get. So I would say that as much vegetation as we can get would be a reasonable mitigation. I don't know how much value a scenic easement has because it would only be over the wetlands. It's something.
It's, I mean,
certainly, but
it's in perpetuity,
I would lean
right?
more towards a revegetation being the
Right.
better option.
It's just that it's something that's in perpetuity. Clearly,
Certainly.
the applicant, when you look at the property, is good stewards of the wetlands, but over time, right, that
Certainly, yeah,
can
absolutely.
change, right? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Does anybody in the audience, in the public, would like to address this application? Matt, is there anybody on the phone?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have a motion?
They want to
Do we
respond?
have any
Uh,
last?
Aaron, do you want a closing response?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we agree with the vegetation. We think the vegetation is the best way to go. We'll find something that will fit over this shallow drain field with natural vegetation, low root, shallow root stuff. But overall, we're ready to go.
And may I ask, would the applicant be amenable to establishing scenic easements over wetlands?
I don't know the answer to that. Over the wetlands themselves, I believe so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And can I just ask Tyler, I'm sorry, I maybe it's in the existing conditions memo, which for some reason I could not find, but is there a survey just of the existing house? Because
Yes.
it's so busy. You don't have to show it now, but it's in the file, right?
It is, it's in the construction protocol.
Oh, that's where, okay, yeah, I missed it. Because it's so busy, I just wanted to compare the exact location of the house now versus,
Tyler,
thank you.
Just quick, in this, on the matter of establishing the easement over the wetlands, I mean, we're talking, from what I see, we're talking 3 wetlands. So they're going to have to separate 3 easements?
Yeah, it'd be 3 separate
That's going to be
lines.
pretty cumbersome, is it not?
Yeah, well, yeah, it would be, plus there's a 10-foot setback from, or 5-foot or 10-foot setback from the
Yeah.
easements as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it would be approved as is. I mean, it's a tight lot, no matter how you slice it. But yeah, the easements would certainly add a layer of difficulty for future expansion or future redevelopment or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just to respond to that, with the 10-foot setback from the scenic, I don't see how it fits. Because we've got 9, 8 and such on other one. I mean, we certainly, the history here is respect to the wetlands, and we believe that to continue into the future.
Thank you. Ready for a motion?
Yes, please.
Thank you. In the, oops, let me just get my, hold on. In the matter of, sorry, where's my, right here, sorry. In the matter of Alicia and Guy Longombardo, 42 Hampton Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-174-7-15, I make a motion to close the public hearing and the record.
Concur.
I concur.
Concur. Thank you. Thank you. The next application was actually opened a week ago. Do we need to read that into the record again, or?
Waive reading?
I think I can waive the reading. So do we have a report for this?
A field report or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we're going to have our report. Who's submitting the report?
I am.
Change that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. As we know, this property comes off of Marine Boulevard. It was properly posted. Next slide. And by the way, I'm just looking from my back. This property is at the sort of intersection of Gilbert's path and Marine Boulevard. The house is to my rear. That's the neighbor directly across the street. I think that's 58 Gilbert. Next slide. Just another view of the, bluff, of Marine Boulevard, believe looking, I can't tell if it's east or west. Next slide. Okay, so I've started to go up the driveway. I didn't get a good picture of it. There are very mature, what I believe are holly trees on the front of the property. The property slopes gently up the driveway. That's just a picture of the neighbor to the direct neighbor to the east. And you can start to see the current condition of the what is characterized as dune land. And I'm sure we'll talk about there's a revegetation and planting plan. But there is a lot of mulch on top of what was dune land, not a lot of what looks like native dune vegetation. There's mulch, there's irrigation. Next you'll see that as you kind of go up the driveway. Okay, so I'm just proceeding up the driveway. Next slide. And I'm approaching the house in the distance. I might have one more, there's a closer picture probably of it, but I think where those cars are parked is the portion of the lot where the the one-story extension, which I think will house the new proposed new garage, will go. Next slide. Okay, so I've gotten closer to the house. There's a existing garage. I think you can't see it; it's obscured by those two cars. Next slide. Okay, now I'm starting to walk up the west side of the house. I'm heading towards the rear of the house and towards where you'll be able to see the ocean. There's a path here, again, fairly disturbed dune land. Next slide, the house you can see. Okay, so now I've wrapped around. I'm on the south side of the house. You can sort of see in the distance the ocean. It's more to the right. And next slide. Okay, so now I'm standing with my back to the ocean. This is the very mid-century existing structure that will be having extensions to it. There's a kind of a wooden walkway that wraps around this area of, it's a combination of beach grass and I think some other, maybe some ornamentals in there. And then next slide. I backed up a little bit so you can just start to see the really mature, beautiful beach grass that's in great tact on this side of the house. You can see to the right, that is the eastern neighbor. Next slide. Again, I've backed up. I'm basically getting onto the beach. That's a better shot of the house, the vista from the ocean side that the public sees, and how it aligns with or relates to the house to the east. And I think the next slide shows it relating to the house to the west. Next slide. I've come back to the house now. So this whole area, I'm still on the south side of the house. This is a breezeway area, an area under decking. So I'm looking through this breezeway would be starting to run back to the driveway. There's area here that will be enclosed and will be part of the addition to the house that will be made within the existing footprint of the structure. Next slide. And now I'm looking at it from the other side. You can see the existing garage, which will be converted to living spaces, is there on the left. I'm looking now back towards through to the ocean side. Next slide. And again, I just wanted to show that, I think that we'll talk about the revegetation plan, but, the ability to revegetate, restore a lot of the, fair, as the TAM says, rather disturbed dune land, could be a great benefit as part of this proposed application. So you can see it's all mulch. There's irrigation in what was dune land. I think I just have one more slide of kind of similar. Yeah, same idea. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we ought to address, as a matter of business, as part of the public record, there's been a request to have Member Maring recused. Are we going to have statements about that?
I was waiting for counsel too.
There's a request by the applicant. You can reiterate that, but I think it's been set forth in the record. There's been a request for your recusal, and
Right.
if you'd like to make a statement, I don't know if
No, I would just say that we rely on our letter that's in the record, and note our objection for the record, and that's sufficient. We want to move forward with the application before the board.
Okay.
To avoid any further delay, we'd like to proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and I will make just a brief statement. I have read the whole request for recusal that was put into the public hearing file. I've taken, read it all. I do believe that I am impartial and not biased against this application, the applicant, or the type of relief that is being sought, and I will not be recusing myself from the application, and believe I can be objective and see the application well.
so we can proceed with the hearing.
Liz?
Thank you.
Do you think we could put up some of the area? Thank you, Tyler. Good evening, board members. I'm Liz Vale. I'm with the law firm of Greenberg Traurig, 2317 Montauk Highway in Bridgehampton. And I'm here on behalf of the applicants, George and Anastasia Gavalis. They're here with me tonight. We also have presenting tonight and here to answer questions, Dr. Lee Wishar, senior scientist at the Woods Hole Group, Rich Warren and Shannon Corcoran of InterScience, Catherine Maresca, our engineer from Maresca Engineering, and our architect, Jan Chesanovsky of Depostrophe Design. And Jan, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly. As stated, the subject property is located at 43 Marine Boulevard on the ocean in Amagansett. The property is 28,874 square feet. We're located in the B residence zoning district. It's pre-existing non-conforming, and the existing single-family residence is entirely within the dune crest setback. The applicant did submit an application, this may be familiar to you, back in 2017 to this board. They were seeking multiple smaller additions to the residence, and the board rejected the application since the variances it sought were too many, and they were proposed on the south side of the residence or the ocean side of the residence. In response, the applicant withdrew the application. Then in 2019, unfortunately, the applicant's home of 17 years in Bridgehampton burned to the ground. They lost everything, and they ended up moving their permanent residence to the subject property. So 43 Marine Boulevard is their home. George and Anastasia have 5 children. They're a family of 7, and they have to renovate this house to accommodate their large family. To that end, they met with the planning department multiple times to create the instant application, which we believe will have the least impact on the site and presents a net benefit to the environment in this case. In response to the board's comments and the planning department comments, the applicant reduced the GFA request, reduced the requested variances from 10 down to 3, and proposed the addition solely to the north side of the property. So the Gavalis family has been at this application process for a long time, and we're here to work with the board. We are very welcoming to your feedback tonight and look forward to working with the board through this process. The current application, which is before the board, seeks to construct 849 square feet of first and second story additions, a 535 square foot attached garage, driveway reconfiguration, an upgraded new low nitrogen sanitary system, and it proposes 8,056 square feet of native revegetation plantings on site. The proposed 849 square foot gross floor area addition includes 115 feet for the first floor breezeway enclosure, 338 square feet to convert the existing garage to habitable space, 39 square feet for the first floor mechanical room, 318 square feet for the enclosure of the second story deck, and 39 square feet for the second floor bedroom extension. Importantly, the notice for this application erroneously states we're seeking relief for a 610 square foot second story deck. That is not the case. We don't need variance relief for that or an NRSP. I believe that's actually just part of the proposed green roof, and it was misconstrued as decking. So it's not part of our application. A natural resources special permit, and of course, 3 variances are required for the application. All proposed improvements do conform to zoning setbacks, pyramid law, clearing, and coverage limitations under the code. However, the proposed activity does require relief from the 100-foot bluff crest setback required pursuant to Town Code Section 255-440 subsection B. Specifically, relief is required to construct the proposed house additions 66.4 feet from the dune crest where 100 feet is required. Therefore, a variance in the amount of 19.4 feet is necessary. The proposed drainage structures approximately 81 feet from the dune crest where 100 feet is required. Relief is in the amount of 19 feet is necessary. And the proposed driveway to be located 65 feet from the dune crest setback where 100 feet is required. Therefore, relief in the amount of 35 feet is necessary. The proposed additions are, as outlined in the TAM, for the most part within the existing footprint of the residence in an already disturbed area, and none of the proposed additions are on the ocean side of the property. So we believe the application meets the NRSP standards in the code, and of course the variance, the 5-part variance test. There's no natural resource feature or system designated in the code that will be diminished in size, polluted, degraded, lost, or placed in peril because of this application. We're going to be relying on the dune stability assessment report prepared by Dr. Wisher, who is here tonight to present this to the board after I speak. Overall, the dune system at 43 Marine Boulevard is stable and resilient and has been for the past 26 years. The TAM's acknowledgement that, quote, the proposed additions are mostly within the existing footprint of the improvements of the parcel, further evidences that the proposed additions to the landward side of this property will not diminish any natural resources on site. So when considered the improved stabilization of the home pursuant to FEMA, the installation of the low nitrogen septic system, and the significant revegetation of this property with native vegetation, it's clear that the application will actually only benefit the natural resources on site. There won't be any negative impacts to groundwater or surface waters. We're putting in the low nitrogen septic system to accommodate that, and the applicant has submitted a full erosion control measures plan and construction protocol to report to this board's record to ensure that the project maintains the existing soils and vegetation outside the project disturbed areas, minimizes surface water erosion of dune land and beach vegetation, and minimizes the transport of sediments to or disturbed soils even during an extreme stormwater event. Ultimately, the application will result in only 12% lot coverage, or 2,680 square feet, where 20% or 4,426 square feet is permitted, and the proposed clearing is 7,431 square feet, where the permitted clearing on site is 15,533 square feet. Alternatives are not available to this applicant. The entire residence and majority of the lot is located within dune crest setback beyond the coastal erosion hazard line. Any addition to this house would require variances from this board. Additionally, the applicant attempted a different plan, proposing smaller, more thoughtful additions to different parts of the house, and it was rejected by this board. The new proposed garage will be installed in the best location, tucked in. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. There was something in the TAM about possibly putting the garage in a detached location. Can you go to the next one, Tyler? I'm sorry. Thanks. Yeah, this is pretty good. Yeah. So, but actually, I believe it's the best location and the least impactful, since it'll be proposed tucked in against the existing residence on the landward side of the house. This will concentrate the proposed construction to the house structure only, and it will ensure that a new area of the property is not disturbed with clearing and constructing a detached garage. A detached garage would also interrupt the proposed revegetation planting areas, which benefit the environment more when planted in a larger contiguous area of land. Moreover, the detached garage is not likely feasible to comply with the New York State DEC regulations as outlined in our memo of law. Thus, the proposed garage location attached to the residence on the landward side of the house is the least impactful to the property and is the best place possible due to the proximity of the existing improvements in the house to the dune crest. Adequate buffer yards and screening will be provided to protect adjacent properties and land uses from possible detrimental impacts. There won't be any detrimental impacts from the proposed use. It's in keeping with the B residence zoning district. It's also in keeping, if you look at the aerial, the house is set back in the same configuration and location as the other houses along Marine Boulevard in this immediate neighborhood. The subject property has been improved with the residence in the current location since about 1969. The current house was built in the 1980s. The community character is going to be maintained by this addition. The proposed use is typical of other parcels in the neighborhood. It will not prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties. The aerial shows that the existing residents and neighboring properties on Marine Boulevard are set back the same distance from the ocean and the dune. The additional living space is 849 square feet in size and is proposed where the garage exists today. Since the proposed addition is on the landward side of the residence within the existing footprint of the existing house, it's compatible with the surroundings and character of the neighborhood and the community in general. Also, the proposed addition will be an existing area that's already improved. It's screened from neighboring properties, and it will be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood with regard to visibility, scale, and overall appearance. A side-by-side view of the proposed addition indicates it's surrounded by mature vegetation. It's barely discernible from neighboring properties, and it actually looks very similar to the two additions at 39 Marine Boulevard, which was approved by this board. However, this application, the proposal is actually flush with the existing residence. It's less visible and smaller in scale. Finally, the proposed project will not interfere with the enjoyment of neighboring properties. The most affected property owners submitted letters in support of this application to this board. Specifically, we have letters in support from the neighbors at 32 Marine Boulevard, the abutting neighbor at 39 Marine Boulevard, 59 Marine Boulevard, 31 Marine Boulevard, and 59 Gilbert's Path. I've also submitted a statement in support which outlines how we meet the 5-part variance test required under Town Law Section 267B3. But now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Wisher to go over the dune setback. Can you go to the next slide, please? He's going to refer to the last picture of mine. The next one, I'm sorry, Tyler. Thanks. This one. This is figure 4 in his report, which was already submitted to the board, and Dr. Wisher will be referring to it. Thank you, board members.
How are you, Dr. Wisher? Do you want to announce yourself first?
Oh, sure. I'm Lee Wisher from the Woods Hole Group, representing the client.
Thank you. You swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. As I said, I'm from Lee Wisher. I'm from the Woods Hole Group in Falmouth, Massachusetts. And I was asked by the client to examine the shorefront, the dunes, and the beach area, and assess the impact of the proposed project on those areas. Yeah, I know the board has a lot to hear tonight, so I'm just going to spend a couple minutes just to hit a few highlights in the report that's been submitted. The report that was included in the packet was completed in February 2024, and I know that was a while ago. So I revisited the site this morning to make sure that the site conditions had not noticeably changed. After visiting the property today, it is my opinion, and the analysis that's included in my report has not changed and remained valid. My assessment consisted of the following 4 tasks. First was a site visit. Second was the shoreline change analysis. The third was an assessment of the stability of the toe of the dune. And the fourth was examination of the vertical changes in the primary and secondary dune crest. I performed my initial site visit in August of 2023 to examine the dunes and the beach at the property. And during the site visit, I observed the following. a well-developed and vegetated dune, which remains, primary dune, a well-developed and vegetated secondary dune, which also remains. An embryonic dune is in the process of forming as a result of the combination of sand and beach grass, which today is still in the process of building. I saw no signs of erosion to the dune or the beach as a result of the existing house or impacts from the use of the property. And my next steps were to assess the stability of the shoreline and determine how the shoreline and the toe of the dune had responded during the period of analysis. The second task, shoreline change analysis, showed that the shoreline had remained relatively stable over the 26-year period between 1996 and 2022. I also examined the short-term shoreline response. This analysis showed that the shoreline had been prograding at a rate of approximately 11 feet per year since 2016. The third task was a toe of dune stability analysis, showed the location of the dune toe had remained relatively stable over the analysis period. The fourth task was to assess the elevation of the dune crest. The elevation analysis utilized a different data set because the LiDAR data profiles were spanned an 8-year period and did not coincide with the time period that the aerial photography was obtained. The analysis showed that the primary dune crest had increased approximately 3 feet over the analysis period, in elevation, excuse me. I also reviewed the construction protocols for the project, and the team has incorporated my comments and recommendations into the construction protocols. And as a result, any disturbance to the site will be confined to the construction building envelope and will not have any impact on the primary protective feature or the secondary dune. In conclusion, the shoreline has been stable since about 1996. The shoreline has been accreting at a rate of approximately 11 feet per year since 2016. And the toe of the dune has remained stable since 1996. The elevation of the primary dune has increased approximately 3 feet in elevation, and the construction protocols will confine the disturbances to the building envelope. So therefore, it is my conclusion that the proposed project will not result in disturbance to the primary dune, secondary dune, or to the beach property. I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions?
I'm just curious, where is the, you mentioned there's like an emerging new dune?
It's actually right at the front of the beach. You had your back to it when you were showing your last picture, showing to the house. You saw the beach grass was prograding out onto the beach. And it's at actually slightly seaward of the last row of sand fence.
Thank you. I was just interested in that.
You're welcome.
Is the snow fence that's all placed down in there, is that all part of a program?
I can't answer that. You'll have to, I mean, there's several rows of snow fence.
Yeah.
On the secondary dune, that snow fence has been there for quite a long time and has remained stable since I've seen the property. And that's all I can really answer factually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz?
Comments from our engineer and architect, if the board is willing to listen as well.
Kate?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jan Shashanovsky. I'm part of the architecture team.
Do you swear affirm to raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to briefly talk about the existing house and the design aspect of the proposed modifications. So the house was designed in 1984 by architect Gregory Swierko. This is an iconic house that is distinctive.
We all know Greg's work. Everybody's
I was thinking it was Myron Goldfinger at first. But
Okay.
Good article in the Star about it, yeah.
Right. But so this is an iconic house, which is a distinctive example of late modernist architecture. It features maybe I don't know if we have a 3D or something, but yeah, this is great. The aerial view, the previous, yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah. So it features clean geometric forms, extensive glazing, and open flowing interiors that are characteristic of its era. With its cultural shape and natural materials, the house integrates seamlessly into the dune landscape, capturing the spirit of modern living in harmony with its surroundings. So the proposed design respects and preserves the architectural character of the original house by maintaining similar forms, curves, and materials. Our approach increases the habitable space for the family while carefully utilizing existing structures and minimizing the expansion of the current footprint. So we are proposing 3 key modifications to the existing volumes: enclosing the existing northern deck to create a new bedroom, converting the existing garage into a habitable space, and enclosing the breezeway to provide an indoor connection between the ground floor bedroom and the main house. So we were mindful to keep the addition small and away from the dune crest by placing the new low-profile attached garage landward. The overall massing remains largely unchanged, and the visual impact of the proposed modifications will be minimal. All alterations have been designed to blend naturally with the original structure and preserve the house's cohesive, unified character.
Thank
I don't know
you.
if you have any question about the design specifically.
So you designed a plan to remove the first floor to come in with about 48 vertical, you're going to be doing helical piles, and then that's going to be cribbed. We're going to work between that to get the helicals in. That whole time the house is going to be sitting on cribbing. That's part of the plan, right? I'm just saying, you designed this.
So I would let Katie
Katie's job.
speak in more details about this. Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess, Katie, you're up.
You're up now.
Just to the proposed survey. Catherine Maresca of SL Maresca and Associates.
Catherine, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So we have been hired as civil and structural consultants for the Gavalis family. So we looked at the site holistically here. Okay, how are we going to make this work with the interior renovations that they want to do with the location of the house? And our plan, just like the chairman said, is to temporarily support the house in place and drive helical piling below the house to make the house now FEMA compliant. The finished floor level was always FEMA compliant with the VE 17+2, but without piling, it wasn't fully FEMA compliant. We're also obviously proposing to upgrade the septic system and provide roof runoff and site drainage for the property.
Any questions, Katie?
Yes, I'm so interested in this. I read this closely. Could you just say, as you put the house up, you're driving in the piles, as you get the piles towards the seaward side of the house, and it might be in here, but how much leeway do you need towards that dune? And
we're giving ourselves a 5-foot buffer.
Okay.
But they're going to come to the side and drive directly under the house.
Okay.
The temporary supporting, all that cribbage, kind of like you see behind you, is all in the interior of the house. So we're able to work completely around the exterior.
Yeah, and the protocol is calling for a skid steer, which is a small piece of equipment.
Right.
that
Yeah.
comes in and-
Yeah, small equipment, just
Yeah.
with the mounted drive head for the hydraulic load we need.
Did you write the building protocol for this?
Yes.
Okay, so then I have several questions here,
Okay.
at least comments. So I went through it carefully, and I think it's a good protocol. I really do. I do think, though, and I'm not going to read these in because I made a lot of yellow marks in here, but nonetheless, if we go through, and I'm sure Dr. Wish's comments were in there and other comments were in, but if we go to page 6, you don't have to go to it. If I go to page 6 here, under construction sequencing, there's a whole series of statements going down page after page about how this is to be achieved.
Yes.
We're going to do it from the north side. We're going to stay away from the seaward side.
Yes.
This is really critical based on what we know is going on the seaward side. As Dr. Wisher has just pointed out, it's very stable. It looks very good. The vegetation is solid. It really looks as if it's been well maintained. However, we could lose all of that with a poor construction job. So when we start thinking about the sequencing of the cribbing, Casewell getting in there, doing the cribbing, stabilizing the house, and then we're going to work our way back in with a small machine, as the chair said. We're going to back ourselves up. We're going to be pouring some caps,
Yes.
those caps, and then you're going to be able to stabilize the house back on its new lower first floor.
Correct.
It's a great plan. However, the problem is not a problem. The only thing I have to say is this building protocol is absolutely critical for this being a successful project. Now, I know that's why it's written. I just want to reiterate that when I read through there, I see 7 or 8 places where anything that's very critical that we do not work from the ocean side, which you've already said we won't, and that we back our way out coming in one direction. There's also a question about where we're going to be storing some soil. Some of that's going to go down on a future disturbed area where you think we're going to be doing the septic system. You have a protocol that works. I'm going to just say that when we're looking at potentially approving and not approving this, large in my mind is that this protocol is going to be honored and going to be followed through because we see that this is not a simple job. This is ambitious. It's ambitious to stabilize it. It's ambitious to do the work that has to be done. I think there's 48, I counted them, 48 helicals going in here. So you've got these helicals going in. This is a fair amount of work, and it's an amount of work that could easily go in the other direction. So having said all that, I'm only reiterating what you've already said in your thing. However, we're going to be very careful about approving this, knowing that we're going to be looking at this project as one that is ambitious. It's going to take some real expertise. It can be done. We have to watch out for the protocols, particularly on the ocean side. And of course, you've already described how we're going to, encase and what we're going to be doing in terms of storing materials, storing some of the fill that we have here, right?
Yes.
So as I said, I almost wanted to read these in to make sure everybody's paying attention to the fact that they were all very specific and they were laid out specifically. We're going to say that it's a matter of record. We have it here in the record, but I think all of us are going to be very concerned as this project moves forward. I think when you take a very sensitive project, we get these kinds of, expertise presented to us. The real thing now is that the execution follows up. And that's not you, that's going to be the builder, but we're all going to be concerned with that, right? So that's something we'll be looking forward to if there's a potential for approval here.
Understood completely.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just speak to that for 1 second? Just so the board's aware that the person who owns this house is the builder, and he's going to construct this, and he's going to do this. So obviously, it's in his best interest to ensure that there's no impact to the dune whatsoever. And he certainly wants to abide by the construction protocol that's been presented by the board, and he knows he can do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have submitted it to the board, right? So I just want to make sure you understand. And if you have questions, you can certainly ask them. Thank you.
Any other questions? Is that it, Liz? We good? Okay, do we have Tyler? No?
Meeting again, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department. So the subject property is situated on the south side of Marine Boulevard, which borders the primary dune and beach of the Atlantic Ocean. Many of these properties on the south side of Marine Boulevard were initially developed prior to the town adoption of contemporary coastal setbacks in 1984, and some, like the subject property, were initially developed prior to the adoption of zoning. The property before the board is currently improved with a 2-story residence with decking and an attached garage, which are located in close proximity to Dune Crest, with the residence setback approximately 25 feet and the decking approximately 18 feet. The current application is to construct additions to the house, convert the existing garage to living space, construct a new attached garage, expand the driveway, bring the property into FEMA compliance with helical piles, and install a new sanitary system. The stretch of shoreline has not experienced severe or chronic erosion since the 1970s and early 80s, when several of the homes along the oceanfront were relocated landward to reduce the potential damage from coastal erosion, and a few were moved landward more than once. Nonetheless, the potential vulnerability of this area to flooding and erosion should not be underestimated. Coastal areas are inherently dynamic and prone to cyclical changes in erosion rates and patterns, especially adjacent to ocean shoreline. These changes and shifts in coastal areas are becoming more likely because of the increased storm intensity and activity, as well as increases in sea level as climate change impacts in our coastal habitats continues and progresses. A large portion of the property, including the existing residence, is located in the velocity flood zone, is seaward of the state designated coastal erosion hazard area boundary, and seaward of the federally designated limited of moderate wave action boundary. This vulnerability of Marine Boulevard to flooding and erosion is likely to increase in the future as results of impacts of sea level rise. The current application proposes to construct additions mostly within the existing footprint of the improvements of the parcel, including converting an existing garage, connecting first floor space under the existing second floor, and constructing additions where an existing deck is currently located. On the second floor, and making the residence FEMA compliant with the use of helical piles. The project is also proposing a new attached garage and deck. No, I'm sorry, there's no decking, and will be which will be new lot coverage along the expanded driveway and the upgraded sanitary system. The proposed additions total of 849 square feet, which will bring the parcel to a total gross floor area of 3,566 square feet, where 3,813 is the maximum allowable. Compared to the 2017 ZBA application, which was withdrawn, the current application is proposing similar improvements, but with a reduced size that do not significantly increase the lot coverage aside from the attached garage. The construction of significant additions to such a non-conforming residence would not be in keeping with proper natural resources planning and not in keeping with the board's past practices, which would encourage significant improvements to be coupled with a redevelopment of the parcel. However, after meeting with the planning department during the application process, the additions were designed so as to not expand the existing footprint of the building and decking, and the planning department has no objections to those additions. In addition to the increase in gross floor area, the project is requesting an attached garage to the north of the existing residence. It is the planning department's opinion that the attached garage should be detached from the residence and relocated landward on the parcel to reduce the amount of new construction and the increase in lot coverage within setbacks of the dune. Construction of new lot coverage and the expansion of the footprint of the building in such a vulnerable area and within such close proximity to the dune crest is not in keeping with the board's past practices, and the benefit of a garage could be achieved through a more conforming detached garage that would have less impacts on the dune and on the neighborhood as a whole. In conjunction with the attached garage is an expansion of the existing driveway with a retaining wall. This appears to be in order to create some additional parking and allow for access to the garage. Some grading of the area north of the new garage is proposed to occur in order to help level off the elevation change around the driveway, which is coupled with a retaining wall. The retaining wall appears to be approximately 2 feet in height to accommodate the change in grade, but the board may want additional details for that if they feel it's necessary. North of the changes to the driveway is a proposed sanitary system upgrade. The construction of the residence and the installation of the sanitary system requires approximately 9,302 square feet of beach vegetation to be cleared. The vegetation north of the residence has been disturbed in the past and contains landscaping, screening, and non-native vegetation. The project includes a revegetation that will help reestablish beach vegetation and the existing dune land characteristics, which will result in the final clearing limit of 7,431 square feet, which is about 1,200 square feet more than the existing clearing on the parcel. This clearing limit is also the same size as the proposed total lot coverage. The board generally expects to see a few feet of clearing around the perimeter of a residence for access and should assume slightly more final clearing limits than is noted on the survey, but I wouldn't imagine it'd be significantly more. If the board is inclined to approve the project, additional mitigation should be considered, including a scenic easement over the dune land and what buffer could possibly be established. The parcel does not lend itself to significantly more mitigation than a scenic easement with limited buffer. It is the planning department's opinion that the proposed attached garage is not in keeping with the board's past practices and does not meet the standards. The construction of a significantly non-conforming garage that adds footprint to the existing non-conforming residence would be an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. A garage could be achieved through relocation to a more conforming location. And additionally, the variance requests are substantial when considering alternative locations. The construction of the garage so close to protected features has the potentially negative impact to the dune. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
I forgot to ask, the applicant might answer this question too, but being that it's south of Ceha, has the DEC weighed in on this?
I believe they have a DEC permit.
Oh, you have DEC.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you talk about moving the garage and making it an attached garage, we do have the septic going down and close to the road, right? So you'd be talking about someplace between where the septic is proposed to go and the existing house?
Or on the other side of the property from where the sanitary is, something along those lines. Shifting it even northwest on the parcel, potentially.
Can I say the DEC forced us to have the leach field north of coastal hazard line? We were kind of forced with that leach field location. And the retaining wall.
Can you come up to the mic, please?
Yes, Commissioner.
Sorry, Tyler.
It's okay.
Yes, we submitted to the DEC and we got feedback that they want the leach field to be landward of the coastal erosion hazard line. So that's why I have it specifically in that area, and that's why I had to use such a shallow drain field. There are 8 2-foot deep leaching galleys and plus 4 expansion by the roadway. And that retaining wall they discussed earlier, sorry, I should have mentioned that. I need that retaining wall in order to stabilize the grade around the septic system to follow the 5% grading rule that the health department dictates. We haven't submitted this to the health department yet, but obviously I'm following all the rules, so I know that this can be installed correctly.
Thank you. Anybody else?
What, do we finish
Tyler
Tyler?
done? We done with Tyler?
Tyler, you
Can I
finished?
just-
Do we have any questions for Tyler?
Yes.
Oh, so you didn't rest your case? Ah,
Wait.
sorry.
Would you mind, wait, I'm sorry, am I asking Tyler a question or? Yeah, ready? Okay. Could you, any comments particularly about the revegetation plan, and how would you characterize?
Generally, off the top of my head, it seemed adequate. I didn't have any concerns with it. It seemed reasonable. Obviously, they can't do too much over the sanitary system, but everything beyond that seemed like a reasonable revegetation plan that we might normally accept.
Okay.
Can you show us like where you're thinking for the scenic easement? Just
Well, as essentially as much of a buffer as we could get over. Obviously, everything south of the dune crest, and then whatever beyond that, there's obviously limited space. So you could maybe get 10 to 20 feet at most beyond the dune crest, but you wouldn't be able to get a significant amount beyond the crest itself.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Thank you. Now, Rich, sorry.
Richard Warren from InterScience here on behalf of the applicant.
Rich, you swear firm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I actually didn't really plan to speak tonight, but sitting here listening, I just thought I'd offer a couple of comments. My firm was the one who was here in 2017 who prepared the other application that the board heard and they pulled back on. Part of this is for them to be able to live in this house like a normal family. And right now, there's a bedroom on the first floor that in order to, in the winter time, to go to the bathroom, they have to go outside to go into another part. So this is a reattachment of this design that was done by an architect many, many years ago to try to make this as a normal house. And we tried to do that with the last application as well. So that's what some of this addition is. It's going on underneath the second floor on this house. Lee Wisher, from Woods Hole is, in my opinion, one of the most noted coastal geologists, and we've worked with him for years. And he did a contemporary analysis of the shoreline. But when you actually go back and look further, Larry McCormick and Orrin Pilkey, Orrin Pilkey is no slouch in terms of coastal erosion. They wrote a book in 1984, Living on Long Island's South Shore. And they talk about this particular area as well. And they say that this is an area that's stable, the beaches are growing. And I think if you take a look at the historical aerial photography in this area, which I actually did, and you look at when this house was constructed, and you go from, back, well, the earliest photo that I can find the house on is 1976. When you look at the 76 aerial, the 1984 aerial, which is the aerial when town adopted natural resources, and you look at the current aerial photograph, you're going to see that the dune is actually bigger now than it was before. So it actually supports everything that Lee has said in his reports and his analysis, and the work that was done back in 1984 that showed that this area is actually very stable. Your comment about the protocol is critical to its success, and we agree with that. And I just wanted to say that George Gavalis, who's a contractor, been out here for a long time, was integrally involved in the preparation of that construction protocol. He worked, very closely with Katie Maresca to make sure that they had a protocol here that's going to protect this house, this dune. They have vested interest in trying to protect the dune in front of this property. That's really all I meant to come up and say, that the addition is on the most landward side of the house. Before, we had multiple additions on the house back in 2017, trying to find a way to make this house work for them, and the board wasn't happy with that. So now they've moved it back as far back as they can, on this property. So it's all the way back in the most northern part of the house, as far away from the dune as they can place it. It seems to be the most logical place in order to try to locate this addition that they want to do and try to minimize the impact. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions for Rich? Thank you.
I'm good, thanks.
I
Liz?
had one more question for
Yeah,
Ms.
we have
Vale.
to go to the
Does
public.
the board have any questions for any of us? And can you give us any feedback on the application or anything you'd like to see?
I think we're good right now.
I have one question. So I know both coverage ratios are well below what the maximum allows. But could you just go, and I'm not going to, I heard your rationale on keeping it as an attached garage versus moving it, but could you just elaborate a little bit on your narrative? Because proposed lot coverage is rising by about 1,250 square feet. The existing garage you have that's being converted, the new garage is, I think, almost much larger than the existing garage, and you're expanding your driveway. So, well, the applicant's expanding his driveway. So can you just, just give a little more narrative around those expansions as part of an application, that's otherwise very, I think, tight in on the existing footprint?
I mean, I think that's basically the rationale for keeping the garage as close as possible and tucked into the house as possible, is to ensure there's a larger area of proposed revegetation. And it does increase the clearing on site. It's still well below the max permitted. However, there is an addition of footprint here of not the 840 square feet of GFA, but the 640 square foot footprint, which is the proposed garage, which is proposed to be attached. I don't know if the team has any other additions than what I'm saying with regard to the impact or the environment or the clearing, frankly. I mean, we needed most of the clearing for the proposed septic, and
I think the ability to keep this compact with a house gives the ability to landscape in a larger sense of the property. When you looked at the aerial photographs that were up here before that showed the streetscape of what's happening in this area, the houses are all in a line. You didn't have like a house and a garage and a house and a garage. The houses were in a line here. So it gives you the ability, I think, to kind of keep the character of this neighborhood more consistent with what's going on there. So keeping it compact as opposed to spreading the structures out.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I accept your.
she's asking about the increase. There's just an increase in clearing on site for sure, but it's I would say it's not a maximum. It's not even near the maximum clearing permitted on site. And the fact of the matter is, we're proposing the addition and the driveway. That area and the revegetation is proposed in an area where it's already disturbed, as noted by Tyler. It's already revegetated with actually non-native vegetation and ornamentals. So this would be hopefully the benefits would be increased by actually revegetating this area with dune land and native vegetation versus what's there. And I think the impact would be greater, a greater benefit to the environment as a result. So that's our rationale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or feedback from the
Any
board,
other
or do you
questions?
have any proposed
Thank you.
asks of the applicant or anything?
I don't think we're good at this point. We're going to go to the public, I think, and
Okay, great,
get their
thanks.
response. Do we have any concerns from the public? Anybody from the public would like to address this application? No, Matt, is there anybody online?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
They've been pretty thorough.
I think we've been pretty thorough this evening.
The letters from the neighbors in support to the board, they're in your record. I think I would just
They're in our record.
to read
Yeah.
them. Thank you.
And the planting plan, the re-veg plan was submitted from Grimes, and then we're assuming that that's acceptable to the planning. So I think we're good with that. I'm good with it.
And we can talk to the clients about the proposed scenic easement if the board's requesting that. We'd certainly be willing to consider that.
If we're going to talk to the clients, are we leaving the record open?
We'd ask.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Ready for motion?
yes.
Thank you. In the matter of George and Anastasia Gavalis, 43 Marine Boulevard, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-179-1-9, I make a motion to close both the public hearing and the record.
Second.
Concur.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Gotta look at this memo.
Okay, on other decisions, we have the applicant Hine at 2 Cedar Point Road in East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-55-1-27.2, and that's a modification to the October 30th, 2019 determination. I think that's Morgan.
So this is a bit of an interesting modification. The board had originally approved an as-built pool that was within front yard setbacks, and there was a natural resources permit aspect to it, which is unaffected by the modification. The board granted approval for the pool and patio within front yards, and the homeowner, there was a change in ownership, and they constructed a new pool that is slightly more conforming, as well as the patio within front yard setbacks. So essentially, the modification is requesting to have the new setbacks approved so that they can get their CO for the reconstructed pool. The only thing that is slightly less conforming is the location of the pool equipment, which I believe is about 4 or 5 feet closer to the front yard lot line.
But the project itself reduced in size in terms of the pool and the.
Correct, yes, the pool is, I don't want to say exact, almost half, it's nearly half the size of the pool that was originally approved.
Is the pool equipment screened?
It is, there's, the property's pretty wooded beyond the clearing limits. I wouldn't say that there's like shrubbery around it, but it is screened using like an enclosure.
Yeah, I think Town of East Hampton requires an enclosure.
Okay, I think there are pictures in the showing the pool enclosure, maybe. Oh, it's, yeah, there. So
I see it.
That's what we're looking at. And that is Cedar Point Road.
I'm sorry, Morgan, can you just, I spaced the key sentence you were saying. Are you, the change resulted in not meeting a lot line setback?
It is still, can you get back
I'm
to
sorry,
that chart that I?
forgive me, I missed
Sorry.
it.
So the pool patio is
Oh, right.
now 10 feet from the front yard lot, or sorry, 60 feet from the front yard lot line. 59 feet was approved, so it's 1 foot more conforming, the pool patio. The swimming pool now conforms with the front yard setback. And the pool equipment, the new variance would be 9.1 feet where 5 feet was originally approved.
And the most affected line, the property line most affected by the pool equipment is adjacent to Cedar Point Road.
Yes, it is Cedar Point Road. There's not really, there's not a neighbor.
This is not a neighbor that's going to be listening to the.
So the issue really is the pool equipment, and the approved front yard was 65, and now we're looking at
60.9.
60.9,
Yes.
so a 9.1. Okay. And everything else, there's no change. New wetland setbacks,
A
nothing.
little better.
The change is actually only 4 feet.
Right, yes.
It's only a 4-foot change, not a 9-foot change.
So the new front yard variance is 9.1 feet. That's what it says in
That's,
the map.
yeah,
And
yes.
it was 5.
And it was 5. The approved front yard was 5.
Yes.
Okay.
The variance had already been granted for front yard, understood.
And there's no new wetland setbacks, nothing's changed there?
It is still conforming to the 100-foot minimum setback. I think there might be a 5-foot difference from.
I think the key here is that the
Yeah.
pool is now becoming conforming. So I
Exactly.
think that's
That's a
the
biggie.
key here.
Yeah, it's something that we noted on our inspection of the property is that there is ornamental bamboo planted. It is within NRSP jurisdiction, so prior to a CO, the planning department recommends that that be removed.
Right.
It will be removed, okay.
Yeah. so
Well, I don't have a problem with this. As long as the bamboo is removed as a
With the
condition,
bamboo gone, yeah.
I don't have a problem with this request at all.
So should we make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, therefore I make a motion on the applicant Hine at 2 Cedar Point Road, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-55-1-27.2 to approve the modification as outlined, as presented.
I second.
I concur.
Concur.
I still think we have to write up a modification, is that it? Do we have
It's
to
a
write up a
resolution
resolution? So we
amending,
should,
yes.
we vote later.
Resolution amending determination.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
That's what.
Good night,
Right, yeah,
Michael.
All right, so we have the draft minutes of Tuesday, April 22nd.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes from Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll second it.
I concur.
And I concur. Thank you. And we have no resolutions, John?
No resolution.
We've drafted, so
We're waiting for a response.
We're going to have you ready.
All good.
What's this is admin application was removed?
All right.
So are we ready to adjourn?
Chair, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the zoning board of appeals on April 29th, 2025 at 8:15 PM.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur.
Concur. Thank you.